Thank you to my current YouTube channel members. Thank you to my— What's up guys, in this video we're going to talk more about Faye. In the last video I broke down the original timeline, which we dubbed Timeline A. Timeline A is the timeline where the world Serpent came from. To have full context, I highly recommend you watch that video. But here we are going to go into the strangeness of her death, why I believe that she would return, and what could she possibly want to change about the future, so that the original timeline doesn't happen. Let's get right into it. So first off, let's recap the last video. I'm going to give a brief summary, but again, to have a better understanding about where we are, watch the last video. In the last video, we learned the reason why everything changed is because of Faye's death. If she never died and kept fighting herself, the bond between Kratos and Atreus would have never bloomed, because the journey would never have happened. Because the journey never happened, Baldur wouldn't have died there. He would have died where the prophecy wanted him to, hundreds of winters later. Ragnarok happened once the events leading to it occurred. The serpent came from that future, came from that Ragnarok. That's how we know these events happened. Rock and Sindri said Faye chose another path. She chose Kratos and Atreus and forced them to go on the journey to Jotunheim by destroying the protection runes in the forest. That's basically all you need to know for this video. Now let's talk about Faye's death. Out of all of the info I got from devs and various interviews and articles after the God of War story mode trailer was released, the team constantly said Faye is dead and we have to go to the top of the mountain to spread her ashes. But the weirdest part about Faye's death is that it's never detailed, even within the game. Developers and people attached to God of War said things like, she didn't die in battle, she just died. Or, no, she wasn't killed, she's just gone now. Nobody has ever said the nature of her death. She's just gone. Nobody ever reveals why. The only concrete thing we know about her death is that it was planned. Now, how do we know it was planned? Faye told Kratos that she was dying. She specifically marked trees that she wanted to cut down. These trees were the protection over the forest. She was very specific about her final wish, where she wanted her ashes to be scattered. Hell, she had the energy to walk the path Kratos and Atreus would take and marked the entire way. Even the statues that the world serpent would eventually eat, like Thor's statue in the Lake of Nine, and the other debris that was marked that was also inside the serpent. To say that her death was planned is an understatement. Her death was 100% planned by her to happen at that exact moment, so they can walk the exact path that she laid out. In doing so, Timeline A was forever altered. The timeline that the world serpent came from, that Ragnarok happened, is now gone. And a new timeline, which was God of War 2018, took its place. However, before we talk about what she needed to change, let's talk about her death. More specifically, why I believe that she will return and that she never really died in the first place. First, let's analyze the wall at the end of the game. Have you guys actually ever really studied it and understood it? Did you know that it's actually in order and it makes sense? Let me show you. Alright, so let me show you what I mean about the panel is in order. So, let's get into it. So I'm going to use photo mode here. I believe that this is divided into panels. So we have this first panel that's connected with this bottom panel right here. So this is Faye saying her last goodbyes to Atreus. And then her talking to the giants, telling the giants her plan. This middle panel that's broken, this little walkway that we see Atreus in the middle, I believe this little panel is supposed to be Faye's funeral. And her telling Kratos and Atreus to set out to Jotunheim. I believe that's why Atreus is standing right here. Then, over here, they go ahead and they meet the world serpent for the first time on the boat. Coming up here, this is when they meet Freya. Kratos is holding the boar in this scene. And Atreus is meeting the turtle. Coming over here to the next panel. Again, it's going into complete order. Kratos and Atreus fighting the dragon, Modi and Magni. Then they go to Helheim. They go into the final fight with Balder, and Freya's right here controlling the giant. But, oddly enough, the thing that doesn't fit in this timeline of events, why is Faye's funeral bed here? This is where she got cremated at. We know that this is Faye as well, because one, the body on this matches the same color of gold that she was using on that panel over there. Kratos and Atreus also go up to this and they talk about Faye. Why is it here though? I believe that during the battle between Kratos, Atreus, and Balder and Freya, during that struggle, that's when the illusion and Faye's respawn was here. The illusion wore off and her body respawned and she got up and walked away. And remember, at the end of this section is this section. This section is the next game. And interesting enough, this scene right here, I believe this is the scene where Kratos dies. However, remember the words, I made a video about this a long time ago. One of the words up here is false. False death. Kratos' false death. Faye's false death. Side by side. Husband and wife. And on the next scene on this wall, again, this is the next game, we have a young Atreus walking alongside three wolves. So I believe Faye's false death, Kratos' false death, Faye and Kratos doing something here together. And that something leads to Atreus walking alongside three wolves, which is most likely Skullhati and Fenrir. As you just saw, Faye's cremation bed is out of order. I believe that she ended the illusion at this moment once the fight was over. I think the ashes they spread weren't ashes but a magical substance that told not only her but the giants who was there at Jotunheim it's time to end the illusion. Ragnarok is about to begin. Sensing the journey is at its end, she leaves the same way the world serpent left, and they both leave to prepare for battle. But not only that, I do believe that the world serpent and Faye will come together some way, shape, or form to battle against the Aesir gods in the next game. Now, why do I believe that she goes with the world serpent to prepare for Ragnarok once she awakens from her illusion? Now, there are two pieces of evidence I have to support this. Here's the first one. When you go to Jotunheim for the first time, you go to the wall where there's a lot of text, and you press square and interact with it. Atreus writes a note in his book. He scribbles something down in his book. This is what he writes. This is what was on the wall. We foresee Midgard's fate, overrun a second hell. Neither Odin nor his dead may reach Jotunheim. The ways must be shut. The serpent and the guardian remained. They alone shall keep our hope. When doom befalls the indestructible, only then shall the guardian return. Until then, we await a better world, one without fear, without greed, without war. We wait for deliverance and justice. We wait for a champion. We will wait for word that the gods grow good. I think that in that note, the guardian is obviously Faye, and the world serpent is the serpent that's also referenced in that note. Now, the second piece of evidence I have actually comes from my symbol series. Now, again, if you look within the house, there was a certain symbol that represents the world serpent. It was there on a carpet and there next to a bed. I asked an Elder Futhark expert what the runes around it means, and he says that it's actually not Elder Futhark, it's Younger Futhark, and that means it's undecipherable. However, this strange symbol that Faye had put in the house also matches, again, one that matches on Kratos under his armor. Someone who got the model texture of Kratos in the game had this symbol on his shoulder, and that same symbol can be found on the giants that are dead at the end of the game. Once the next game starts, she will make an appearance. I think her first stop after her return is to go to Jotunheim to tell the giants the next step in her plan. This probably explains why we're unable to go back to Jotunheim after we beat the game. Remember, the fact that Faye put this symbol in the house, okay, of the World Serpent. The World Serpent's obviously going to have a huge role to play in the next game. We can't decipher it. Again, I made a whole video about that when I asked the guy who deciphered the majority of the Elder Futhark text in the game. He says that it's undecipherable. So I think that this mystery is just getting bigger. And guys, have you noticed the more we dive deeper into the God of War, the next game, the more theories I make, everything is starting to come together. You know, what if it wasn't for Captain Cuba's video, I would not have found that note. Again, I completely forgot about it. My first playthrough I saw it, and then it just completely left my mind. And now it's like a multiverse of all my theories coming together. You know, the Symbol series, the Odin series, my Loki series, everything seems to slowly be coming together. The more I talk about God of War and these theories, I do believe that Faye will make an appearance. I think that the note is literal, not metaphorical or symbolism. I think it's quite literal. I think that Faye and the World Serpent are going to become very close in the next game. They're gonna have a close bond. They are grandmother and grandson, if you think about it. So that's gonna be the end of this video. Do you think that Faye will return? Do you think that note was more metaphorical than literal, unlike me? Let me know your thoughts on this video. I'm gonna be out of here. Thank you guys for listening. Deuces.